Okay, so with these three linear functions, if we take the derivative of all these three linear functions, this y prime is just 1x, or just 1, right? I'm sorry, I messed that one up. And this one, that derivative is 1, because the slope is at 1, right? And then for the blue one, the y equals x minus 3, that derivative is also 1. So if I wanted to find the antiderivative of any one of these, I would have to say, okay, so I've got, let's do this one. I've got 1, so here's y prime, that's equal to 1, equal to 1. Yeah, I'm going to do what I just wrote. So what's the antiderivative? Well, what we don't see is x to the 0, right? So the rule is, the power rule is, we're going to add 1, and so that becomes x to the first. And then, of course, we divide by 1. 1 divided by 1 is 1. But then we always got to remember there's a constant that comes along, right? So plus c. So do you see how these all of these the only thing that's different between these three linear functions is that plus c. So when you have the indefinite integral, that means you have the plus c. You don't know what c is. C can be anything. But when they tell us a point, like if they told me that for this blue function, hey, I know the point is 0, negative 3. So I could say, well, if negative 3, and I know it's a y-intercept, and I know it's an easy equation to do, but they aren't always like that. So if I know that big F of 0 equals negative 3, the antiderivative has a value of negative 3 at 0, then I can say, well, negative 3 equals 0 plus a constant. So c equals negative 3. Okay, that's easy. I know that's easy. But the same thing happens with something like this. What if I have here, let me stop this and go to the next slide. So these are all parabolas, as you can tell. They're supposed to be parabolas. And all of these functions have a derivative of 2x. Okay, and the only thing that's different is the vertical shift up on the y-axis. So if I were to do the antiderivative of this, I would take the one that's here, add 1 to it, divide by 2 that I got, right? So that would give me x squared plus a constant. There's big F, right? The antiderivative of that derivative is x squared plus c. Now, if they told me that at big F of 1 equals 2, notice I'm not being told the y-intercept. I can kind of see it. So what we can do is we can say 2 equals 1 squared plus c, and then we just solve it for c, so c equals 1. So this initial value function, see, we've given an initial value. We know this curve passes through that point, so that's where we get that initial value. So that lets you get rid of the c. Okay, and this happens every time. So don't forget the c when you're doing the antiderivative. And if they give you a point on the curve, well, then then you can find c, get rid of the c, and get an answer, get a specific answer. Okay. So hopefully that helps, makes that pretty easy to do.